Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for another episode of Storytime with Tanya. And today's story is called The Search for Poncho. Once upon a time, there were two brothers, Eli and Max, who were as different as night and day. Eli, the older brother, was quiet, thoughtful, and careful. Max, the younger brother, was loud, impulsive, and always jumping into things without thinking. They lived in a small town by the edge of a dense forest, and their dog, Poncho, was their best friend. Poncho, a scruffy terrier with a heart of gold, had been missing for 2 days, and the brothers were determined to find him. Day 1. The search begins. Eli stood by the map, tracing routes with his finger. We need to start by checking the woods. He could have wandered off there, but we need to stay organized, Max. Max paced in the background, tapping his feet impatiently. Organized? Psh, nah, that's boring. Let's just run out there and call for him. He'll come back. He's not lost. He's just exploring. Eli frowned. Max, we have to do this properly. We'll cover more ground if we stay focused and follow a plan. Max shrugged, unconvinced. You plan, I run. And with that, he darted off towards the woods, shouting Poncho's name in the wind. Eli sighed, but followed, knowing that the two of them had to stick together if they were going to find Poncho. He didn't like Max's impulsive nature, but Max's energy was something Eli couldn't deny. It might be just the thing they needed to cover more ground. Day 2, the divide. By the second day, the brothers had made little progress. They had searched the forest, followed a few false leads, and checked with neighbors, but there was no sign of Poncho. Eli, exhausted, sat on a fallen log. We need to think this through, he said, rubbing his temples. Poncho isn't just lost. Something must have happened. We should retrace our steps, check places we missed. Max, on the other hand, was restless. We're wasting time. We should be doing something big. Put up a giant banner, knock on more doors, make noise. He grabbed a stick and started waving it around as though it could somehow help. Max, Eli said patiently, sometimes quiet searching is the best approach. We need to focus. But Max couldn't sit still. You focus. I'm going to the old mill. Poncho likes the scent there. I'll bet he's hanging out over there. Eli frowned, but knowing how stubborn his brother could be, he agreed. Fine, but let's stick together. Promise me. Max grinned. Sure thing. Let's race there. The turning point at the old mill. When they reached the old mill by the creek, the atmosphere changed. The abandoned building loomed over them, covered in vines and overgrown with moss. It was eerie. Eli took a cautious step forward, looking for clues, while Max was already sprinting around the back, shouting Poncho's name. Poncho! Max yelled, peering into the cracks between the mill's rotted walls. Poncho! Come here, boy! Eli slowly circled the area, checking for any signs of movement. He knew this part of the forest was known for wild animals, and he was worried Poncho might have gotten trapped somewhere. Suddenly, Eli spotted something, a tuft of fur caught on the corner of a wood beam just inside the mill. His heart skipped a beat. Max, he shouted, I think I found something. Max sprinted over, his eyes wide with excitement. Where? Is he here? Is Poncho inside? Eli carefully approached the beam, examining the fur. I think he was here, but we need to be careful. This place is dangerous. Max ignored Eli's caution and squeezed through a narrow gap in the mill's wall. I'm going in. You stay out here, Eli. I'm going to find him. Max, Eli called, but Max was already gone. Eli hesitated for a moment and then followed. He knew he had to go in after him, even if it wasn't the safest option. Inside the mill, they worked together. The mill was dark and damp. Max's voice echoed through the hollow space. Poncho, he called. Poncho, where are you? Eli squinted into the shadows. Max, be careful, he whispered, but it was too late. Max had already stepped onto a loose floorboard, which creaked loudly. The sound startled a flock of birds, and the noise sent Max tumbling to the ground. Eli, ow! Max groaned. Eli rushed to him. Are you okay? I think I twisted my ankle, Max said, grimacing, but Poncho has to be here. I'm not leaving without him. Eli paused, glancing around. The place was filled with narrow, dangerous paths, and they had to be cautious. Max, we have to do this together. You can't just rush in. And suddenly, there was a soft whimper from a nearby corner. Both brothers freeze. Poncho, Max called quietly. Eli nodded. Stay calm. I'll go first. Eli stepped forward, his hands outstretched. He rounded a pile of wooden crates and found Poncho, muddy but very much alive, curled up in a corner, trembling. Poncho! Max cried, hurrying over. Careful, Eli warned, but it was too late. Max scooped up the dog and hugged him tightly. Poncho whimpered in delight. Eli smiled. You did it, Max. You found him. Max grinned, his face flushed with relief. Yeah, but you're right. We needed to be more careful and smart. Eli chuckled. And you were right, too. Sometimes we just need to jump in and trust our instincts. The two brothers looked at each other, finally understanding what the other brought to the table. They might be different, but together they were unstoppable. As they made their way back, with Poncho safely in tow, the brothers shared a quiet sense of pride. They had found their dog, yes, but more importantly, they had learned something about each other. Max had learned the value of caution and planning, and Eli had discovered that sometimes a little bit of energy and spontaneity could make all the difference. As they walked side by side, Poncho happily trotting along, they knew that no matter what came next, they could always face it together. The end. Thank you for joining me for another short story with Tanya at Storytime with Tanya.